Hey everyone, Poso. Welcome to Turtles Bible Camp. My name is Keith Turtelot and we're located in Kashina, Wisconsin on the Menominee Indian Reservation. Today we're going to do a special show dedicated to my brother James Charles Turtelot III, firstborn of my father, James Charles Turtelot II, and I believe he was the great grandson of the James Charles Turtelot I. Could be corrected on that. My brother Jim, being the oldest, born on March 19th, 1948 at 2 o'clock in the morning, um, lived with my father up until I was about 3 years old, and then we moved to California. Um, Jim, better known as Baby Jim to many of his friends and so forth, he was probably the adult male figure in most of my life. Since the time that we moved to California, and I don't remember a lot of that because of all those years ago. But as time went on, we found ourselves in Milwaukee, and my brother had to watch us a lot, and my mother wasn't home a lot of evenings and so forth, and so my brother in his teenage years was. Denied his high school days and so forth. And while he went to Lincoln High School in Milwaukee, he didn't wasn't able to participate in a lot of sports and so forth because he quite frankly always had to come home and watch us. Um, in 1965, my mother left us, and my brother tried to take care of us, and was eventually found out by the school district and so forth that we were living alone. And I don't know how many months we lived there. I believe maybe 3 months. My brother was 16 at the time, trying to keep everything together, and so we were all put in homes and so forth. And it, I would later, along with my brother Mark, my father, whom I didn't know at the time, came and got us, and we went to go live with my father. While the rest of my brothers and sisters, they went on into foster homes and so forth in a children's home. And in July of 1966, Jim enlisted into the Marines and would go to Vietnam. He served 2 tours in Vietnam. And during those 2 tours, he was overrun 4 times, hand-to-hand combat, and he was also around 1968. He was MIA for a while. He was an artillery specialist, a sharpshooter as well, but an artillery specialist, and so his profession was he could put guns together and major artillery and that kind of stuff. And he was coming home from a furlough or going back from a furlough, and there in one of the military bases, some general seen his insignia and grabbed a hold of him, and they went out into the bush. Well, unfortunately, during that time, that was one of the times they were overrun, and he went into hand-to-hand combat. And later on, when he came out of the bush, almost a month later, they finally found him, and then we got a letter saying that he was no longer MIA. Um, my brother uh, enlisted for another tour, trying to keep my brother Mark out of Vietnam and so forth. But the rules had changed. My brother didn't know that occurred, and my brother Mark ended up going into the Navy, and it was on the Nimitz, and he also went into Vietnam as well. And in 1969 and 1970, our mother was taken from us, and my brother Jim started his paperwork to get a discharge, an honorable discharge, and he was discharged in 1970. And he married a young woman, beautiful woman named Miyako, a Japanese girl, and they had a daughter named Lisa. And he brought together my brother and my sisters and tried to take care of them, but unfortunately, as the demons of his police action would have it, he couldn't cope very well from everything he had gone through, and not only that, but from being, when he was released and came home, he was spat upon and so forth, and he actually hid his suit and never for years admitted that he was in the service. And so he was released in March of 1970, and he tried to take care of my brothers and my sisters and his daughter Lisa, and eventually his demons would get the best of him, and they separated, and he never really got to know his daughter Lisa after that. And over the years, he would have another daughter, and Jamie, and he had three daughters in all, and they, he kind of had a rough life and so forth. And in 2011, he suffered his first heart attack. It nearly killed him. And I remember going down there and seeing him hooked up to all the stuff, but he came through. He came through with and my sister down there, Lori she helped and took care of him, and tried to pay attention to what was going on with him. And in 2013, he was diagnosed with cancer. And at that time, I guess in 2011 or so, they ruled it that it was Agent Orange, and his cancer was also ruled as a condition of Agent Orange. Well, my brother fought the fight and defeated that cancer. In 2016, he moved home here, and I got to spend the last few of his years. And then he came down with leukemia, and turned out, this was in 2017. Turns out that they ruled that he would, because he was at Camp Lejeune and the water was contaminated there. His leukemia came from that condition, and he never survived. And he passed away in September of 2018. He'd be 72 years old today, and he was always a part of my life, and a most important part of my life. As the years went on, I consulted with him a lot, and I felt though he didn't like people because of the things that happened, and he certainly was always confused as to why he never died in Vietnam, and because he certainly thought that he would. That's probably what carried him through Vietnam, but Vietnam would eventually take him. The song I'm going to do for him, it's an Animals song, and it was his favorite song, called House of the Rising Sun. And I didn't play it much for him, but I knew that the few times that I did while he was out to the camp lot and so forth, he appreciated the song. So we're going to give this song a try. And not only am I going to dedicate this to my brother Jim, but who would be 72 today, but Stacy and Lisa and Jamie, and to all of my brother's grandchildren and so forth. I'm going to dedicate this song to them, and so here it goes. There is a house in New Orleans was a tailor. She sewed my new blue jeans. My father was a gambling man down in New Orleans. Now the only thing a gambler needs is a suitcase and a gun. And the only time that he is satisfied is when he's all drunk. Now, mother, tell your children not to do what I have done, to spend your life in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. Well, I got one foot on the platform and the other on the train. I'm going back to New Orleans to wear that ball and chain. There is a house in New Orleans they call the rising sun, and it's been a ruin of millions, oh boy, and God, I know I'm one. Happy birthday, brother. Next week, it's going to be my last show. And I'm going to do my favorite song, and that time I'm going to end my show. And we'll talk a little bit about that next week. In the meantime, try to enjoy yourself, people, because you know I will.